So what if I told you you can own a historic building for free? To which you might ask, in this economy? Yeah, that's right, it's free. The catch is you have to be able to move it. Preservationists say the railroad history it holds is invaluable. And in this exclusive story, Van 2 shows us why it is worth saving.
Drive by and you wouldn't think twice.
It's just been hiding in plain sight.
Some may see an abandoned eyesore with its peeling camel green paint.
I feel like it's kind of aided it in blending in over the years.
And its eroded porch.
It's a cool porch.
But Alexa Roberts, founder of the Belvedere Preservation Alliance, doesn't see a dilapidated building.
I see a building that's full of possibilities. It is pretty wild that I'm standing here talking to you about this building.
That's because the 114-year-old structure at 315 Church Street in Roseville, California, is one of a kind.
It's extremely rare. So of the dozen that was built, this is the only known surviving Southern Pacific emergency railroad hospital.
At the turn of the 20th century, railroad construction continued to boom, along with the physical risks.
It dealt with a lot of employee injuries. Wanting to retain employee loyalty and also to care for their workers, they started contracting with local surgeons in the area.
Thus marked the infancy of our modern healthcare system. By 1870, the railroad company established its first of two big hospitals in Sacramento. Workers paid a fee and the company subsidized the rest. These extravagant hospitals in Sacramento no longer exist. Later came smaller emergency hospitals like the one at 315 Church Street.
It's been serving our town since 1908.
They were built where industrial accidents were more likely to happen.
When you had a railroad hospital like this, it could provide immediate emergency first aid care.
The 1,200 square foot building was efficient and followed a basic layout. Blueprints of a similar building show the inside.
You had a doctor's office, a small pharmacy, you had an emergency surgery room, and then you had a recuperating room, and then a small waiting room. It had 3 beds for injured railroad workers to recover.
One of Roseville's original Board of Trustees members and former mayor, Dr. Bradford Woodbridge, treated patients here before they were transferred to larger hospitals in Sacramento and San Francisco.
I mean, imagining doctors that took care of our railroad workers using that sink that's still in there, that's pretty crazy.
The railroad company closed its hospital department in 1968, and historians like Doobie thought the railroad hospitals had all since been demolished until this year.
I was just shocked and delighted to find out that one of these buildings had actually survived.
Narrowly escaping debris from the Roseville rail yard explosion in 1973, the building went on to serve as a training classroom, an office space, and 10 years ago, storage for the Boy Scouts. Robert said she learned that in the 70s, a local group had saved it from demolition.
So now it's our turn, so what are we going to do with this building?
The city of Roseville says the parcel where the building sits will likely be used for more parking as Amtrak increases train service, and it's too expensive for the city to restore. Officials say they did a thorough inventory of historic structures. 315 Church Street does not have an historic designation, but Dubé says with some restoration work, it has the potential to be included in the National Register of Historic Places because of its unique backstory and original details.
These classical supports are my favorite part probably because they're totally original. There's original wood flooring, which is always exciting. It's even painted that seafoam green that these buildings used to have on the inside. It can be a gem again in our city, I believe.
To save this history, preservationists like Roberts and the city are now working together to find someone to move the building for free.
Do you know how much it would potentially cost to move a building like this?
It would be between $40,000 and $50,000, but you got to factor in the $12,000 from the city and lots of fundraising.
The community of Roseville has a unique opportunity to potentially save and preserve this building. It definitely would be a magnet for people who appreciate railroad history.
Dubé and Roberts says it doesn't necessarily have to be rehabilitated to its original form. Any sort of new way to reuse the building can still help share its history for generations to come.
It just tells another part of the railroad history, not only for Roseville, not only for California, but it has the potential of telling that railroad history for the Western United States.
Bantu's with us now. I've been so excited for this story, our resident history nerd that we love so much.
Yes, yes.
What an amazing story.
Yeah, completely. And the preservationists here who are trying to save this, they hope that it could be refurbished into a museum building or even a small coffee shop, even like an Airbnb unique stay. So the last thing they really want is it to be demolished for a few parking spaces.
And lose all that history, yeah. And what I think is so interesting is that our employee-sponsored healthcare tracks with our railroad history. I never knew that. That was so interesting.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of open enrollment for a lot of people, right? So a lot of people replicated Southern Pacific's system, but it wasn't until the 1940s really when the government really incentivized all employers to provide health insurance, and that is the dawn of the system we know today.
Wow, and are there any takers on this house for free?
Yeah, so no serious offers now, but the Preservation Alliance, they're fundraising and they're asking around, and they also want people to send in photos or documents that their families might have because it was operating until the 70s, and they're looking for those artifacts.
Hopefully they find someone. Amazing. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate it.